Thank you so much, Andrea. It almost kind of sounded like you were talking about someone else and not me. But yeah, thank you for that awesome intro. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this session. Uh, for where I talk about mastering the art of saying no and its benefits. It feels surreal to be on the other end because most times I'm usually at the back end listening, taking notes, receiving nuggets of wisdom and scribbling questions to ask at the end of a presentation. But today I decided to take the leap and talk about something that's really close to my heart and that I technically might be working on right now at work. But yes, let's jump in. Oh, before I jump in, just to give you some highlights, the context in which I'll be speaking is I currently work as an agile project manager. I manage infrastructure projects, but I also have the awesome opportunity of being a scrum master for the infrastructure team. So I help manage the infrastructure team. So that's the context in which I'll be speaking. A few topics that we will be delving into: the need for saying no, how it's difficult for most people to say no, and also how to say no, among other topics. So I hope you enjoy this whole presentation as much as I enjoyed putting it together. Okay, so let's jump in. I wanted to start off with something pretty light. It's a quote that I like that I was surprised to find out Greg McCohen said it. He is a leader and a business strategist and someone I seldomly listen to for nuggets of wisdom. And he said, if you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. I feel this is so relevant, especially through having gone through COVID and the world being flipped upside down, plans flipped upside down. It's really important to prioritize. If not, I don't know where we will all be. Okay, so uh, moving forward. Um, I'm a very fun guy. I like to make my presentations interactive and kind of get you thinking the same way I did when I was putting this together. And I tried to figure out or take a stance of where can I speak from to properly explain my thought process and share exactly where I'm driving to. And the inception, the need for now. Uh, as an agile enthusiast and a scrum master, it's liberating most times when you hear people say agile and they love the agile methodology and everything that comes with it. But then when they start to explain it, you start to cringe a little bit because it 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 doesn't. So most times it comes from a place that um, means the best, but doesn't necessarily fully understand exactly what entails within the agile scope. Um, and today, many people or many conventional teams and customers outside the agile world think agile is basically conventional project management, but with some added flexibility and nimbleness. But when their requests are rejected, instead of understanding, they get frustrated, and sometimes they even get outraged. And especially stakeholders with power, you never want to step on their toes. I feel agile organizations do not get the full benefit of an agile environment because too often they're busy trying to do things the old way while using a new process which doesn't support the old way. So that's basically where the need for no stems from. Um, jumping into, and I love the meme, by the way. Jumping into the next slide, we will be talking about the reasons for saying no. Um, I'm going with the reasons because I'm trying to give us um, building bricks to kind of formulate our thoughts, understand our team, understand what the factors are that influence most times when we want to say no. Um, I'm kind of helping us build to the point where we have a good enough understanding of what's going on within our teams, the amount of work the teams are taking on, the thought process of the team and how they work on stuff. and how that influences you pulling someone aside and saying, hey, I know you have requests of our team, but based off of capacity and prioritization, I don't think we're able to give you the necessary or be able to commit to whatever it is you're requesting. And on the personal side as well, I feel it's easy to say no, but you give a softer touch when you kind of explain the reason behind you saying no. So the person understands that you're not just pushing them off, but you're, you know, explaining where it's coming from. Um, and to that end, some of the things you consider when you're building your reasons is one, planning. Um, in the sense of it helps to increase the project success rate when you give your teams the ability to plan whatever it is they want to take on. We know based off of strategic goals or a myriad of factors, a lot of things are being requested of the teams. Specifically, I'm talking about my infrastructure team. Because they're so important to the organization, there are a tower of requests that come through. But, one of the reasons why I'm taking them through the process of learning to say no is, hey, take time to figure out what it is you want to do and plan how you want to do it. When you have a better understanding of everything that's coming in, you can figure out how to take it, like how to plan essentially how you want to go about the development or deployment of whatever it is you're working on. So you stay efficient and you stay successful. And also, it helps to focus on the important initiatives. Things come from all different angles, but it's most important when you take stock of the things that impact overall business goals. And you, even if it's a step forward, you keep making those steps until you get to most definitely project success. So moving from planning, we move over to understanding expectations versus reality. And I love this meme. Um, I I love this topic because yes, the infrastructure team is very important, but it's I would, as far as goes to say, unfair when you, because you see something shiny, because you see, oh, a competitor is doing this, or we're trying to increase capacity, you start to make unnecessary expectations of the team, and without taking into consideration their internal framework or internal process. um, Understanding expectations versus reality, helps you discuss early on all the things that you want. You can have a backlog of creative and innovative conquests, but there's the reality. There's the amount of time it takes to figure out what exactly it is you want to deploy, the impact it has on the overall existing ecosystem or infrastructure, the security vulnerabilities associated with it. There's so many things that come with you just wanting to deploy something that you feel is good on one end but might not necessarily be the best on the other. So when you give, so as a reason for saying no, understanding the expectations from the business, but having conversations based off of changing requirements will always keep you a step ahead of the curve. Now, I put dream big, but realistically for creatives like myself. I do work for an awesome organization called Walmart, and I think that there's some of the best minds there. Um, so giving them the opportunity to still think outside the box and dream outside the box is really important, but then be realistic. You might have the best dreams in the world, but how, like, you taking the steps to figure out how scalable it is will make all the difference. Um, Establish visibility. This is so important. If no one saw it, did it really happen? I love this bullet point because I have I actually did this at work. Um, my teams do a lot of great work, but the only visibility to get is once the project has been completed. Um, so I kind of had discussions early on with internal stakeholders just to try and understand how they see visibility, and then went back to my team, looked at what they did, and tried to pull the information out such that whoever is making a request of the team, even if we're saying no, there's a track record of us having said yes and us being good, you know. And having said that, it helps to reveal, a prioritized backlog to foster transparency with outsiders or with outside stakeholders. You're asking, you're making a lot of requests. A lot of people don't naturally get visibility to what the infrastructure teams are working on. But when you have a prioritized backlog and you make it available to everyone, and you link it to the strategic goals of overall goals of the business, and then you prioritize it, whoever's making a request of the team then gets a better understanding or visibility to, okay, it's not that they're saying no because they don't want to help our team. It's that there are a lot of other projects that require more priority than ours right now, and they're spending and they don't have capacity to take on whatever it is that we're requesting of them. um, it also shows factors that affect selection of work in progress projects. So again, taking that soft approach to show exactly what it is we are working on, what we intend to work on, and how we selected it kind of gives or softens the blow to telling someone no, pretty much. Um, Next bullet point is prioritize business requests versus internal projects. And I must say, I really like this meme as well. I try to make my presentations fun. Um, Now this is on here because now we've shown our backlog. Now we've, discussed business expectations versus reality. But then this is for internal to the team. Um, One of the reasons for saying no is understanding, okay, the business has highlighted a few projects that have priority, and they're also internal projects decided on by the team members or the product owner in the sense, you know, when you have that list and you prioritize it, you get a better understanding of what you can deliver on and what you might need to have conversations around such that you can revisit timelines. Um, Showing this or having this step helps to drive project requests through business through the lens of the business goals, ensuring that you're staying on track and staying focused to what you need to be working on, regardless of how many requests are coming in. Um, it also gives, the team the ability to prioritize whatever it is that they need to get done that might not be directly linked to the business strategic goals, but most important to ensuring that they remain efficient and continue the successful progress rate that they have right now or so far. Um, Moving over to understanding capacity. I feel this is so understated because your capacity to do something pretty much drives how you see or work on things. Even personally, like if someone is making a request of you and you understand your capacity going daily or weekly, you have a good understanding or a good foundation to have conversations with whoever is making that request to say, hey, it's not that I don't want to do it right now, it's just that I don't have the time or the space. And this is what I'm going doing right now, and that's why. Um, so going through this and understanding this helps to foster or give you a solid foundation in terms of your reasons for saying no. It helps you collaborate. Well, it helps the team collaborate to set expectations for each person on the team, and just to hold the team and make them more accountable to whatever it is or whatever SLAs you're working with, and also reveals the need for resource additions based on requests sent to the team. So if there's a need to increase capacity due to so many P1s coming in and you not being able to say no, then you can have that conversation. If someone is asking you for a personal favor and you can't do it, then it begs the question, do you have any close friends or any relatives that you can ask to also help, just to ensure that you're helping that person, pretty much. Um, Decompose requests. Again, this is most definitely streamlined towards the team, is that based off of the trust fall of having conversations, business expectations versus reality, understanding capacity, understanding everything that comes with a request, decomposing it and understanding exactly what you need to get done to be successful is very important and can also help solidify the foundation or the reasons for saying no. Under this, it helps the team break down projects assigned based off of capacity and effort, and also grants visibility and shows transparency on the team workload to team members and stakeholders. It's like when you have a well decomposed backlog and you are able to, you know, look ahead a lot more, you're able to understand, okay, this is what I have, time to take on, and this is based off of prioritization. These are all the things I need to get done such that we're meeting timelines. It gives you personal time as well, because if you're able to itemize every single thing you need to get done during the day, you can pick and choose when you do multiple things at once and when you just focus on one thing, helping you open up space within your workload from time to time. Um, yeah. Enforce work in progress limits is something I struggle with as a Scrum Master, and this meme is really dear to my heart because I know what it takes to get my teams to really understand and love work in progress limits and understand the reason why it's there. This just helps to ensure that you're not taking on more than you can deliver. This also, factors into your reasons for saying no. Is when you have or you're armed with a good understanding of who you are and how you do what you do and how you deliver on things, you can go into a conversation with, information to make informed decisions with whoever it is that you're discussing about a request. This is so, so, so important because it helps to prevent burnouts. It helps to prevent so many things that could adversely or negatively impact you as a person or your team. It also helps to reveal blockers and bottlenecks that the team need help with in most cases. Um, I'm really looking forward to the questions at the end of the presentation. I forgot to mention that. So moving on to the next point, pick a framework and keep evolving. This speaks directly to Agile. My journey as a Scrum Master has been really interesting. Um, uh, Having joined the team early on, I took the initiative to just sit back and really figure out how the team works, figure out the things that make them unique, figure out, you know, how I can come in and help them improve the way they're already working, or if not, in some way change so that they can be more efficient in whatever it is that they're working on. And to that end, I started off with Kanban, which was good but not great. So I kept doing research, talking to colleagues, learning from everyone that I could to really figure out, okay, how can I impact my team positively and give them the tools to be successful? And then I landed on Scrumban, taking some of the best qualities of Scrum and adding it to Kanban, giving them the ability to collaborate, but not taking away, the framework from how they get things from ready to start, in progress, blocked, or to done. Um, so that kind of ensures that they're thinking in a way that helps them be efficient and be successful. So which is why, under this bullet point you have, it shows how the team handles and completes requests. It shows the way they think, about whatever it is that they're working on, and also gives them room to evolve due to revolving requirements. Whatever it is you're working on can change at any point in time, and COVID already speaks to that. But giving them this framework gives them the ability to pivot should the need arise. Track progress. Also a huge factor or a huge reason that backs up you saying no to whoever is asking of you. Because it helps to measure both productivity and quality of projects. So you kind of use this as a filter. You kind of use this as a sieve. If a lot of people or a lot of business teams are making requests that don't primarily fit in with where the company is headed or fit in with the level of priority that the team is currently working on. You can discuss that, but you can use this as a measure or a guide, to have that discussion. It also shows insights to the team's successes and how they impact company goals. So which is it's very, very important to track the progress of your team, because if you're saying no and you go into a conversation armed with this information, you stand the chance of really getting whoever it is that you're trying to communicate with to really understand you know the progress of the team, and how taking on a lot more than they can handle, or taking on something that's not in line with the priority or prioritization of whatever it is that the team is working on as a whole, can be detrimental to the team and the organization at large. And last but not least, educate outsiders. This is something I am in the process of doing at work. Having put together a lot of information on my team and currently working with one of the major stakeholders, um, who sets the overall strategic goals, this is something that we hope to do. And it helps to clarify expectations. Again, if you're educating the regular business stakeholders who make who consistently make or ask requests or make requests to your team, it will do your team a lot of good if you're able to educate them on how the team is successful. It's show them the nuances that make you know everyone always want to dream big and dream without any barriers, because there is an infrastructure team that has always kept them above water and away from danger. Um, and most importantly, you can turn potential adversaries into supportive allies. This point can never be understated, because when people understand exactly what's going on, they make more informed decisions. I've seen situations where requests are not being made because a probable or possible requester is already going through the motions of everything that you would possibly want to discuss in the meeting, and asking those questions up front before even coming to the team. So it's ensuring that there are no blockers, or there's nothing hindering the team from being successful. And every agile coach, when people start to get it, there's a light bulb moment. There's a joy you have in your heart, because that's one person that's one convert, we would say, and among colleagues, giving them the ability to reason how we reason and understand the way we do things. So um I've gone through a myriad of points just to kind of give you my thought process as to the reasons that you may or may not need when you're saying no. So it's and I just want to state that you don't necessarily have to go through every point, but I kind of sat back and really wanted to show you th- that when you set out, or when you take on these bullet points, you're essentially really doing a deep dive and understanding everything that occurs within your team or personally, and then you're able to, with all the courage in the world, tell people, not even if you don't use the words no, you can say not right now. So moving on to the next section of the presentation, there is a quote that I find funny, but it's very realistic. And it was said by Warren Buffett. The difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything. And I kind of find this really funny, because eh, you're both sets of people are already successful. So it means that they have a process to how they do things to ensure that they're successful. But what differentiates them is your ability to pick and choose, even while still being successful, the things that don't need your attention, which is really important. Is really, really, really important. So we've talked about the reasons. Well, we've talked about the need for saying no. Sorry, could you excuse me? Yes. So we've talked about the need for saying no and the reasons you could have for saying no. I'd like to take us on to a next point, which is why it is difficult to say no. I feel from a young age, we've been unconsciously trained to say yes more than no. Even when you get out of university and you're trying to get your first job and you go into the interview and they ask you, "Oh, can you land a car on the moon?" You say yes. And when they give you the job, then you figure out how to land the car on the moon as you go along in the role. Um, I do think that's in some situations it can be dangerous because you're setting expectations that you may or may not possibly meet. But I feel a strong individual is someone who understands, yes, I have whatever reasons I have for looking for a job, but I fully understand what I can and cannot do and be able to say no based off of those priorities. Um, Another thing is a lot of people are conditioned to see no as negative when it may not necessarily be negative. It's just in that moment, it's not possible. It doesn't mean that you can't revisit the situation and have a discussion. And then later on down the line, you then free up more time to be able to take on that request or be successful at it. And then the last point is one that's really interesting. Most stakeholders do not like hearing the words no, especially when they have power. Um, I feel this is so important because everyone sees their request as a P1. No one ever really truly agrees or admits that their request is a P2 or a P2 or 3. And it then becomes a tricky conversation to have when whoever it is that's requesting of your team is someone with a lot of power or a senior leadership um, or in senior leadership correction. So regardless of wherever they sit or at what point they sit, um, understanding the need and building up reasons that solidify, you know, your position based off of the understanding of your team should always help you in those situations. Um, but it nonetheless, we do recognize, or at least I do recognize that it's difficult to say no. Um, Another point I'd like to take us through is why you should say no. Now we know it's difficult by default, but there's the need to say no. Like, why should you say no? Saying no helps the team focus on the requests that take priority. Your ability as a scrum master to help the team or make the life of the PO easier is so important. Teaching your team as a whole the ability to take stock of whatever it is that they're doing, prioritize it, understand the capacity, truly understand how or what makes the team successful, and then based off of that understanding, make an informed decision to say no takes priority because you will always be protecting your team. Your team will always stay successful. Now, can that point fluctuate? Yes, because you may get more resources or you may lose people, but you taking that step to really go through understanding how or what makes your team tick can never be understated. Um, Another reason why you should say no is it helps to build work-life balance for sustainable quality and development. Um, Work-life balance is so important. A lot of people, now that we work from home, personally, I find myself working a lot more than I would have if I was going into work. Um, but keeping the things important helps me prioritize what I do during the day. As much as there are a lot of interesting projects at work, family is also very important for me. So it translates over to the business as well. Yes, there are important projects or requests that come to the team, but relying on your director, relying on your product owners, relying on strategic leadership to help set the tone for whatever it is that your team is working on will always help your team in the end. It will always ensure that your team is sustainable, pumping out projects and being successful in anything that is asked of it. Um, why you should say no, last but not the least, is it protects project scope to match strategic goals. When you understand where the whole business is going to strategically, you're able to pivot, or you're able to have those difficult conversations with whoever's requesting to say, hey, your project might be important, or your request might be important, but it might just not be the most important right now. Okay, so that's the why you should say no. So when to say no, which is equally very important, because requirements revolve, because um, things change. Knowing when to say no is truly important, because you might have, so I'm going to use an example to explain this a lot better. um, I have teams that are working on projects that are so important to the overall strategic goals of the business that they can't afford to have it slip. But there are outside factors that can delay the delivery or the success of those projects. So, but that's beyond what anyone can do. In the global shortage caused by COVID, um, a lot of reprioritizing is going on. A lot of changes are happening in the back end to ensure that the business stays flexible, to ensure that even if projects cannot be completed right now, what else can we take on to ensure we stay up to date? But when that starts to negatively impact the team and push it beyond capacity, I will feel that's a good point to stand up, or to put your hands up and say, hey, we need to have a conversation about, all the things being asked of the team. Also, when you have changes within the resources of the team, when people leave, or when people join and don't have the requisite knowledge to fully kick off or run with a project that has paused due to someone leaving, you have to have conversations to renegotiate timelines to ensure that you take account for that to remain successful. Or when you get requests that seem very creative or seem very innovative, but you can't really specifically point out the strategic goals it aligns to, or the overall business value to the organization, then I feel that would also be a good time to say no. Okay, so moving on. So we've talked about when, why, understanding how it's difficult to say no, and then built the foundation for the reasoning to say no. Now, how to say no is in some situations can sound political, but I feel it's very important to understand communication. Communication in any form is important. Communicating with family is important. Communicating with your spouse is important. Communicating with your managers, with your colleagues is very important. Communicating with stakeholders who have power is very important. Understanding different lingos, or understanding how to phrase or frame a no in a warm and soft way is it's an understated skill that would take you far. Um, no is not a finality, but a way to negotiate a new timeline and revisit the request. Um, when unfair expectations are put forward on the team, having conversations to say, okay, you know what, I understand it's important, but based off of capacity and priority, we can't take it on right now. That feels a lot better than having or making a direct no to whatever is being asked, and being framed as difficult. Um, but regardless, even if you know you're going to say no, depending on or based off of the information that you've gathered on the team, it doesn't take away from you setting time to actually still listen to whatever request is coming into the team. You understand what's being requested of. You reveal the priorities as related to the business strategy, and also using information that you've tracked on your team. You then have those difficult conversations to say, hey, um, I do know this is important. I do know the level of priority you've assigned it, but based off of all the information I have on the team, based off of capacity, based off of the ability to deliver on whatever is being requested, I think it would do us a lot better if we renegotiated timelines. And then you show proof. So it's not just that the person is taking you on your word. No, you're showing them, you know, information that you've tracked or established through the visibility point, where you might go into Confluence and show them reports on your team, show them how much you're taking on, what they're completing every 2 weeks, or based off of whatever SLAs your team has, just to take them to the next step or next level to say, we do really take your request priority, but we just don't have the capacity to have it completed right now. So on that note, I feel, oh, well, no, I should say, I hope you've received enough information or at least guides to help you um, understand the need for saying no, the reasons you may have, or the foundation blocks you could use to gather information on your team that can aid you in helping or in saying no to whatever unfair expectations or fair expectations are made of the team. Now, what happens if you never say no? One, you set unrealistic expectations for your team. If you're never saying no, then it means you're saying yes to everything, and um, that is dangerous. Saying yes to everything welcomes burnout. It welcomes factors that could negatively affect the team. It there's no clarity. There's confusion. They're not focusing on what exactly they should be focusing to maximize and project success. So also, you never get to focus on the important things, only the things that seem important, because every request that comes in, imagine having 100 projects with a priority one rating. It then means that there might be an issue with how you prioritize projects. But yeah, last but not least, the team will most likely experience burnout. Um, no one wants to work in a toxic, um, overbearing environment that doesn't take into consideration their own personal values and personal life as well. That is really huge. So moving forward, some of the benefits of saying no. The benefits of saying no are endless. I just tried to capture a little bit. Um, the team gets the opportunity to carry out a request based off of capacity and priority. This is so important. You know, capacity keeps the team accountable. You're saying, you can take this much work on, and within the specified amount of time. Are you constantly reassessing what that's capacity is? Are you having conversations based off of, okay, because we have a lot of priority projects, we're going to have to push ourselves some certain months, while some certain months we're going to have to, lay back a little bit just because of whatever conflicting projects might also be worked on. But some of the benefits of saying no to everything gives you that space to plan, to really give your team tools to remain successful. Stakeholders get a better understanding of how the team operates in a delivery time frame, and also team gets to protect its backlogs from unnecessary requests. This is, I feel all 3 points are very valuable, being that if you're able to protect all the list of things that you're working on, you stay successful. Um, you stay efficient. You're able to communicate benefits, or constantly and consistently give the business what they're requesting of you. On that note, we have gotten to the end of the presentation, and I welcome questions. I would love to have a conversation.
Thank you so much, Kola. I really appreciate it. It was just bringing back all these memories of when I faced similar issues. But I do want to open it up for questions. You can ask in the chat or please feel free to unmute yourself. If not, then I definitely have some questions, but I'll give it the audience an opportunity first.
Hi, Omar here.
Hi, Omar.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
Good, you?
Good, good. And I'm sorry I joined, I think, a bit late.
Not
Uh,
a problem.
came up. I was able to catch towards the end, uh, and I definitely learned a lot of useful information. My question is, usually, Andrea, this is recorded and goes on your channel, so we can watch it after, to
Hmm.
just to catch up what I missed.
Yep.
Okay. Uh, yeah, I don't think I have any questions because again, I didn't join the beginning. But thank you very much for keeping these things going. I usually watch them on your channel because I don't always have a chance to join live. But thank you for keeping these going.
Oh, no problem at all.
Thank you.
Well, I have a question for you, Kola. I guess my question would be, w- what, how did you pivot your strategy when you've brought the data, you showed like, hey, this team can't do this right now, but you were still faced with a very stubborn person saying, no, you must get it done.
Uh, can you hear me?
Yeah, again.
Awesome. I feel like we've definitely faced this at work, and if you've tried to explain, you've showed information upon information, um, but the stakeholders still insistent on ensuring that the project is completed or at least initiated, I feel to me would be to escalate to whoever the overall senior leader of that team would be, because um, I I love a top-down approach, um, and we definitely, even at work, we employ a top-down approach with the director to the product owners to every team member. So when something is not positively received, I feel the next step would be to have a conversation with the senior leadership to say, hey, um, these are our reasons for saying no. We and based off of our track record, we're always focusing on the things that are important, and we don't necessarily believe this is important. Now, it could be one of two things. It could mean one, that we're wrong and we need to reprioritize whatever it is we're working on to add that project in and ensure that we're successful. Or two, um, whoever's requesting of or making that request to the team then needs to have a conversation with the senior leadership so they can fully understand the length and breadth of whatever is being asked, and then have that conversation at that level and get back to us. That's how I would attack that situation.
Cool, thanks.
You're welcome.
Anyone
Um,
else have any comments, questions?
or do you have any experience saying no? Like, have you tried saying no in the past and did it work? Did it not work? Is there anything that you would like to share or add? Because I really want to learn.
I have an interesting story. So, okay, so this is my time when I was working at BMO.
Okay.
It's the product owner and the business leaders had a problem with not saying no. When I joined the organization in September, the team was averaging 200 and I think it was 74 story points, and they had 6,000 story points outstanding, and it needed to be completed by December 31st. It didn't take a math genius to figure out that that wasn't going to happen.
Correct.
Just divide the 6,000 by 274, you would know how many sprints you had remaining. And it was a 2-week sprint. So it seemed like no one wanted to bring it to anyone's attention. So I took it upon myself to be the new person and take the heat and said, hey, I'm just curious. Do we think this is going to get done? Because here's the data, here's the stats, here's how long our sprints are, here's how many weeks are left in the year, and this is how much work is outstanding. So I didn't say, hey, we cannot do it. Like I didn't say it that way so it wouldn't be received as a no. But what I did do was open up a conversation that then sprung up 3 other agile teams to help take on other features that needed to be developed.
Oh, nice.
And they ended up meeting their goal, but it was still not at the level that they were expecting. Um, because even with 2 other teams, we weren't going to make the 6,000 outstanding story points. It was too late. It was September, and we wanted to do by December. And if you know anything about onboarding people, takes time, blah, 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 access to systems, blah, blah, blah. But one of the points, that's why I mentioned that you're making me remember some of those days, because when you mentioned about burnout, it got so bad to the point before the other 2 teams were spun up that I was onboarding at least 1 to 2 new team members every single week because people were like, you know what? I don't care. This is too much work, too much pressure. I'm out.
Wow.
So as a scrum master, I had to literally onboard someone every single week because we had that much turnover, because people were tired. They were burnt out. They were like, we can't do this. And everybody was saying they couldn't do it. But it's almost like the PO became a block between their voice being heard and leadership listening. And that's not really the function of the PO. So that was another thing I had to do. I had to educate the PO on how to say no, because he's like, I can't just go and say no. I go, no, you're not going to just say the word no. You're going to say, my team doesn't have the capacity. Here's the charts from the last 6 months. These are this is the velocity in which we are doing these things. We need to think outside of the box or alternative ways for us to meet our goal. And I need your help in order to do so. And that is what got the negotiation and the talking started. So
That,
yeah,
that's a story.
it is.
1 to 2 every week?
Yeah,
Wow.
don't worry. I eventually quit and I went to Walmart. So I don't regret that.
Yeah. I feel like so many. My infrastructure teams have come a long way from just trying to take on everything, or the PO trying to take on everything, be in every meeting, spreading himself thin, you know, almost led to a life scare as well for him. And, my director took the initiative to have a conversation with him to say, hey, you need to slow down. Like, we love you. We want you to be here with us. Like, if you need more resources or if you need anything to help with that, just let us know. Don't try and take on everything at once because you're trying to maintain this, high rate of success. Like, let's have conversations with things that we can't do right now and push it forward. If it's important, it will still be there when we have the capacity to get it done. So yeah, like I have so many experiences. In fact, I'm still taking we're doing an overall prioritization process right now where we take stock of everything that has come in so far and then analyze it and have the director set the overall strategic goal to say, hey, all these projects that you have, these ones here are, yes, you've prioritized them properly. This are P1s because they affect this for the business. Everything else, you guys have the authority to decide what you can and cannot do. And then let's have those conversations with whoever the requesters are to renegotiate the timelines, to let them know, hey, it's not that we don't intend to get it done. It's just that we can't get it done right now. So it's, yeah, I appreciate. Oh, that's definitely awesome, Chris.
Sir, so
Transparency is always.
no, go ahead, go ahead. You want
No,
to
no, no.
read his
You can.
comment. All right, just so everyone can know what the comment was, Chris has wrote in our chat, I like your suggestion to be transparent, Kola. Share the why and the conversation can be opened up. Perhaps you can agree on a time for the future when the work can be completed if aligned with priority.
Which is being transparent will always help. It's and it's one of the qualities of that you get with agile. It's not just transparency within the team, but with everyone else looking into the team. Say, hey, we're not hiding anything, and our progress or project success rate speaks for itself. And this is how we take on projects. This is the why we pick the certain projects that we do, and deliver on. And then anything else that we can take on, we do take on. If we feel that we still have capacity to take on more projects, we do. So we're constantly evaluating ourselves to ensure that we're not at the maximum, but we're at a healthy point close to it, that we don't experience a negative impact. So, like I said, saying no is so dear to my heart, because currently right now I feel my teams need to say no to some projects. But it's trying to gather as much information as I can, such that when we then go into the conversation with all the requesters who have sent in what they need, we're armed with information that we can then show and make informed decisions on the new timeline.
Great.
Awesome.
So it is 8:13, and I just want to make sure that we've answered all the questions that we want. Again, let your friends know if you feel like there's someone that needs to hear this or see this or build a foundation, then go ahead and watch the rebroadcast, which will be posted Sunday evening, typically by 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our YouTube page. You can find us on Agile GTA. But I want to make sure that we have asked all the questions that we would like to ask. Going once.
Yeah, this is Richard. So I just want to put a more of comments.
Okay.
So from my past experience, I think the no itself has a own power. I think on the other case, especially work situations, we sometimes might worry to say no to something at work. It's giving a perception of our ability to accomplish certain tasks. So, by putting the other way, we think declining sometimes make us look incompetent, right, to certain tasks that they're asking to do. So, what will be your approach to alleviate on that aspect of that perception?
Again, first of all, thank you for the question, Richard. Again, a lot of factors play a role in this. What type of request is being made? Um, your capacity to complete it. Are you someone who has not properly prioritized personal or assigned projects in the past? Um, if this was asked of me and I did not want to, seem incompetent, I would go to whoever it is I report to have that conversation and say, hey, this is everything I'm working on. These are the priorities to the best of my abilities and understanding of what's been asked. And this has come in. I do have reservations about saying no, but I do feel I do need to say no because, hey, these other things that I'm working on are important. So can you tell me, based off of your own understanding and clarity as to where our team is headed, which projects I should pause, or if I should pause anything I'm working on to take this on? And if not, then can I copy you on the email that I was going to send? Yeah, because to be honest, um, it speaks to this situation speaks to the type of environment you work in. Is it supportive? Is it understanding? Like, are you being assigned to do things, based off of the need to do it, or just I need you to fill this quota and that's it. So if you're having these conversations with your manager or with whoever it is that you're reporting to, they should have a good they should have a good understanding of your level of, um, well, not the level, how well you do whatever is asked of you. So if you're, calling their attention to, hey, I don't think I can do this right now, and I'm a bit afraid of what the blowback or the no might be, and then you can have them have that conversation for you, or you can pull that request into a meeting and also have them join, and then using the tips and tricks I just explain to them why you can't take it on, and then hope and pray everything works out well from that point.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. Before you wrap up, Andrew, I just want to give a major shout out. Unknown to a lot of people here, my director is actually on this call. Someone who is really dear to me, and his name is Alfio, and I do have a bunch of my other work colleagues on this call as well. So thanks, Richard, for joining and asking questions, and Chris, I do appreciate you adding comments to the chat. These are all people I admire a lot, so thank you.
Thank you very
Also,
much.
thank you to the Agile team for allowing me to present.
I'm a OP boy. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my seat.